Hello, Doug.
Well, hello.
Um, we got a new intro. It's a countdown
Yeah.
or something. I'm doing this dangerous man. You know this one, peanut butter porter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's one of your favorite ones, yeah.
that's one of everyone's favorite ones.
I unfortunately didn't get that one, but I did get that other beer that the Dodoras gave me. Boy, I can't remember what it was called, but it was excellent. It was like not one of their stouts, but that one was excellent. So.
Oh, you never had the peanut butter porter?
Mm-mm.
What?
Nope.
All right, we got to do something about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it's
a good start, eh?
Mm-hmm. What you got?
So I got something with a pretty damn cool label from Pipeworks. It's from Pipeworks Brewing in Chicago. It's called Great Indoors. It is a saison ale with green tea, peaches, and honey.
Green tea. I'm not one of these tea beer guys. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree. I've had ones that I saw them out one year and then I never saw them again that had tea infused in almost every one of them. They were all good. But so there we go with the look.
Are you a tea person?
Not me. Jill is. Jill likes tea a lot, and so does my oldest. But I'm not much of a tea person unless I'm sick.
Lemon honey tea. Mm-hmm.
Ooh. All right. So the peaches and honey are coming in loud and clear on this. Nice saison flavor. I don't get much of the green tea, just a very tiny hint of it.
Good.
But this is really, really, really good. I think this would be a really good like lawnmower style beer, like especially after you're done working in the yard. Like the sweetness is like really appealing after that. So yeah, this is quite good. Good job, Pipeworks.
Not up there. I'm sorry, what you say?
Good job, Pipeworks.
Yeah. It's hard to find a miss with those guys.
Yeah.
From what I know.
Yeah, I haven't had a lot of their stuff. I just saw this, and I just like the can because, you know, me, I'm a sucker for freaking good can art, and it was just nifty with the color mix. So I was like, oh, cool. And then when I picked up, I was like, oh, Pipeworks, even better. So, yeah.
So from the Mixer 6 Owl?
Pardon?
From the Mixer 6 Owl? Is that where you got that one from?
Yeah, this is a place that's a bottle shop, so you can buy them individuals. You can buy them, but so it's not like the grocery store runs that I normally do. I actually went to a bottle shop for this. So, yeah, but this was, I think this was $4. It's a 16-ounce can. So,
did you check the date?
I did not, but
no, you didn't.
It doesn't have a date on it. So, yeah.
Right. No, I was just wondering.
Yeah.
Pandemic beer drinking and beer buying is a whole different thing. So,
yeah,
I got it. I'm just.
Yeah, when I go into those stores, I'm not like dilly dallying, and I'm like, well, looks good. Grab that, and let's get out, and then I'll figure all that out later. Like I don't examine as well as I probably should. So.
That's why I don't even at this point. Still, Doug, I still don't even go because I don't know if I can do that actually. Like I'm used to just going in and spending an hour in there.
Yeah, I was in this bottle shop. I was only in the bottle shop for maybe 10 minutes, and I just bought 4 different beers, and I got, oh, that's cool. Let's grab that, and then I was out. So,
man, all right. Introduce our guests, Doug.
Yeah. So tonight we have our boy Kevin McKeever of Dad 2.0 blogger fame and Mad Elf hater, but as he said earlier in one of my posts, I hate other things too. I'm not that one-dimensional. So
he is the main blog editor at City Dads Group, Doug. We got to get that in there.
See, I did not know that, so I didn't do my research. Holy shit!
Oh, you just know him as a baseball fan, right? I mean,
yeah.
No, you know him as a Mad Elf hater. And if anybody,
that's just part of his mystique.
For anybody who wants to know what Doug is referencing before we get Kevin on here, we had the Mad Elf show where we drank Mad Elf from Trogues Brewery, and yeah, and it was interesting. We'll get Kevin on here, and yeah, we don't need to talk about Mad Elf, do we? Hi, Kevin.
No, we never need to talk about Mad Elf.
What's going on, Kevin?
Oh, not much. I'm back. We took our annual vacation down to the Outer Banks of North Carolina. So I am home and technically on I think tomorrow's day 7 of my quarantine.
Oh. Yeah, we keep forgetting about that when you come back. In some places, they make you you got to sit still.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I followed the form with the state of Connecticut like I'm supposed to. I actually took a COVID test before I left the Outer Banks because it gives you some exemptions on certain things. But when you start reading the fine print, basically that's if I'm coming into Connecticut, I need to drop my kid off to school. If I'm attending a funeral, if I'm taking care of a loved one who is ill. It's like very, very limited. So you still basically have to do the 14 days. Mm-hmm. But basically, I seem to be the only person who actually does the 14 days. Mm-hmm. Before I left, and since I've been left, when I've talked to people, they're all like, don't worry about it. If you want to come and if you want to come hang out, it's fine. We don't care about the quarantine, blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
I do.
Yeah, I'm doing my best. I mean, I got off the highway. I ran into the I'm like Greg at the shopping for beers. I literally ran into the supermarket in 5 minutes and grabbed milk, bread, eggs, and whatever just basic stuff we needed at the house and ran out. And that's been my one venture out to public since I've been back. I mean, I walk my dog, which I can do because I don't run into anybody. Yeah, but pretty much that's been about it.
You're doing like beer shopping, like supermarket sweep. You're like,
oh God, yeah. I'm like Greg. I mean, especially when the first thing happened, it was like I still do this. Like when I walk by people, even though I'm wearing the mask and they're wearing the mask, I hold my breath until I get well away from them. I've almost passed out a couple times.
Well, and to keep it clean. I haven't been in a liquor store since COVID started. I only do curbside, so I don't even. Anyway, Kevin, what's in your glass?
Okay, let's see. Well, I am going to start off. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm grabbing a bunch of beers that I brought back with me from North Carolina. Some of them I've had before. Some of them are new. So I have never had this before. It's called Swell Rider. It's a tangerine Sessionnail. From a company called D9 Brewing, which I constantly mix up with Devil's Backbone because if you look really quickly at the logo, it looks a little similar.
Oh, that's close. Yeah, that's close.
They're out of Huntsville, and I know I've had a couple of their beers before, but I'll be honest, I don't remember a single thing about any of them or about the brewery. I had to look up that's where they're from before I even opened it up. So, all right. So, is it? Let me. I want, since you are the expert, is this the proper glass for a tangerine Sessionnail, or should I stick with the pint?
Any glass is a proper glass, unless it's in the shower.
That's as you well know now, Greg. As you well know.
Yeah.
So here we go. Wow, it's white. That is really, really white.
Oh.
Oh man. Oh.
I was expecting it to be a little bit orange.
I'm expecting
and mine's a little darker than that. I don't
know.
Yeah. Greg's is much darker.
Okay, well, I definitely smell tangerine.
Love it.
It's a Sessionnail. I'm not a big fan of Sessionnails, especially like session IPAs. But every now and then I continue to try them to see if there's something that really stands out. It's okay.
Why, Kevin? Is it because they're just light in body, and what don't you like about that style?
Well, as most session IPAs, I just find it's just you get the hop bitterness, but you don't get much else out of it. I just don't get any of the complexity or any of the subtle flavors out of most of them. And they just honestly taste like watered down IPAs for the most part for me. I'm trying to think if there's one in particular that I actually kind of liked, and I can't think of one offhand.
So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather have like a Hefeweiss or something that's a lighter golden ale or something that's got some flavor, that's got a little more complex flavor to it. But you live and learn. Plus, this is a beach vacation, so I do try to go for stuff that's a little bit lighter and everything. So,
sure.
Why not? Right.
You don't want to be on the beach drinking a peanut butter stout, I guess, or peanut butter porter.
No, but I will the peanut butter stout though. I do like peanut butter stouts. But my general rule about Oktoberfest, like when they start coming out in like July, I steadfast hold out until Labor Day weekend, unless it gets unless like there's like a real cold snap that comes through and it drops below 60, and then I'm like, yes, Oktoberfest time. Yeah.
Do you do the same thing with pumpkin beers?
Yeah, but I haven't really been into pumpkin beers the last few years. About 4 or 5 years ago, I just overdosed on them.
Yeah.
And last year I had a couple. I always get my usual 6-pack of Pumpkinhead from Dogfish, and I'll pick up a couple odd ones here and there, like a Southern Tier or something like that. But I haven't really been into them. Now I think I've gone the opposite way because I've been really focusing this in the fall on Oktoberfest and Marzens, and I really think last year I really overdosed on those. So I'm going to see what happens this fall when I actually do go look into a store and see like how crazy I get with the Oktoberfest this year.
Yeah, we like the pumpkin one. There's one that I get, and it's Warlock from Southern.
Yeah,
that's the one I always grab. And then, generally speaking, I don't really grab a lot of pumpkin beers. I used to like Pumpkin from Southern Tier, and they make a lot of variants of that now. They make a nitro version, a cold pressed coffee one now, and also a rum barrel aged version. They're not for me, and that's okay. But the Warlock is like this. It's got enough pumpkin that you taste it, and it's not overwhelming. So for me,
that's kind of how I am now. I think, like I said, I really kind of overdosed on them a few years ago. I bought so many of them, and I tried so many of them. I'll do, like I said, I'll do Dogfish, and that actually is not. When you get down to it, there's more brown sugar and other spices in it, and the pumpkin flavor has actually been. I think year after year, it's gotten more and more subtle. But I'm a big fan of brown sugar, so that's why I still get that. That's why I like that one. But Two Roads in Connecticut here makes a Rosemary Baby, which is a pumpkin. It's pumpkin porter, and they do the same thing. They do a bunch of variations on it. They do barrel aged, vanilla infused, and whatnot. So the Warlock I'll pick up. Usually I'll grab a bottle or two of that. And then if I see something that really catches my eye in the store.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had a pumpkin porter.
Oh, if you can find Two Roads Rosemary Baby, it's pretty good. It's a little boozy too.
I know Two Roads is an excellent brewery. I don't see any of that out here.
I see a lot of their stuff, and I haven't seen Rosemary's Baby. I see a lot of their other stuff, but for some reason I don't see that one often.
They do Rosemary Baby is kind of their kind of standard, I guess, their flagship pumpkin beer. They do, and I'm not sure what makes a difference. There's Rosemary's Other Baby, and I'm not sure exactly. I can't remember off the top of my head what the difference is between the two of them.
The other one's made with real babies.
Ground up freshly that day, put in the can.
Boy, that's spicy. I wonder why that's so spicy.
And speaking of that, we have a video. I have a video to show everybody.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Show and tell. Go ahead, Greg.
Let's see here. Okay, it's this one here. Make sure I did that. This.
Hey, get the fuck out the road! Hey! Hey, get the fuck out the road! Get the... What the...
Oh, Jesus! Oh my God!
It sounded like Doug driving.
I did not expect her to go flying out the bridge.
Oh yeah. So comments.
Cheers to her. Hope she's uninjured.
Is that from your personal collection, Greg, or?
That's from Reddit.
Greg's been into like Karen videos and things like that of late. That doesn't really qualify as Karen. I just think that's like dumbass.
It's the Kevin. It's for full disclosure. It's the public Freakout Reddit channel, stream, whatever you want to call it.
Whatever, yeah.
And generally, there's a lot of Karens there, but there's also a lot of like protest videos. Anything that people like, get a video of in public, they just put it up there. It's been a lot of Karens, but it's a lot of crazy stuff. So I don't know. We've been injecting them in our shows, and it's pretty funny.
Oh.
Doug, you got another beer?
Yeah.
I'm still plugging this.
Oh, you're still that's a crowler, so that's like 32 ounces of beer there, man. So
who makes that one, Greg?
And on that note, it's
Greg, who makes that peanut butter stout that you're having?
What's that?
Who makes that peanut butter stout that you're having?
Oh, okay. So this is a Dangerous Man.
Okay. Okay.
Peanut butter porter. Yeah, this is their. If they had a flagship, I would say that would be it. That's the one that everybody screams and hollers about. It's really good. A nice balance of peanut butter. You can still taste that it's a porter. It's really nice mouthfeel. Usually has a better head retention than what I'm showing here, but yeah, it's a nice one. It's hard to get anybody to say anything bad about Dangerous Man. I've heard one or two things, but they're one of those breweries, you know what I mean, that generally speaking, you say the name and people are like, oh yeah. Two Roads I think is another one. They may be the one, or I don't know, maybe I have a wrong impression of them, but I had them at the Great American Beer Festival, and everything I tasted there was fantastic.
Yeah, they're good. They don't miss very often.
Ryan Darcy told me. Ryan Darcy was the one that said you have to get Two Roads. Yeah. So I went and I was like, man.
Yeah, they're great.
You ever come out to Connecticut and actually go to the brewery? They have a whole experimental brewing area called Area 2, where they do a lot of sours. They do. Well, they do some barrel aged stuff. And they do a whole bunch of different things out there.
They have we get a lot of their Gosa stuff. They make a shit ton of those.
Yeah, they make like half a dozen now. I know the lime one I've had. I'm not a big Gosa fan, but I've had the lime one, and I do really like that one.
You're more likely to have good Gosas if you make more of them.
Yeah.
What's up, Doug?
So I actually have one that I didn't realize was from Connecticut, from Hoof-Hearted.
I knew.
So this weird people.
Whoa.
What is the brewery name?
Hoof-Hearted. Hoof-Hearted.
Hoof-Hearted. Ha ha.
Where in Connecticut's that? I never heard of that one.
This one is brewed and canned by Hoof-Hearted Brewing, North Haven, Connecticut.
Oh,
distributed by 12%. I don't know if 12% is a brewery there, but that's
12% is, it's kind of, well, in addition to doing the stuff for City Dads and all that, I've been doing a lot of work writing for ConnecticutBeer.com lately. Mm-hmm. And I believe 12%, it's kind of like a collective in North Haven where you can come in, where brewers and brewers can come in and they'll brew small batches. And you can buy them and everything there. That rings a bell because I remember seeing that the other day or a month or two ago when I was doing some research.
So this one is a double mashed imperial stout with vanilla. It's called American Solera.
Wow, I'm not that far from North Haven. I've never heard of them. I'm about 40 minutes away from them. I've never heard of that before.
Conky Dong.
I saw that one. I almost picked that up, but I picked the other one. So.
Wow. Okay.
Nice and dark, baby. Like a nap. So this almost smells barrel aged, and they have no mention of it being barrel aged at all. So they're what I don't mention. I could smell the vanilla on it, but it also smells like it has lactose in it. So,
are you a fan of lactose?
As long as it's in moderation.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
This says Ohio.
Okay, so vanilla definitely comes out when you drink it. It's a little bit on the nose, but on the palate, it is. That's what you taste. So it's like vanilla and chocolate because of the imperial stout flavors. That's kind of what it tastes like. 12% ABV though, so.
You like the big stuff.
And that's not even the biggest beer I have yet, so could get ugly.
Kevin, how are you surviving the pandemic? And I think everybody's surviving in their different ways. As everybody knows, I'm a road trip guy, so road trips are. And if I road trip, where the hell am I going to go? And then am I going to have to quarantine?
Who the hell is going to let you in, Greg?
Right. Am I going to quarantine for 14 days, which is like the 14 days that I have to go on a damn road trip? So everybody's, something that's been taken away from you, or you've given it up, or something that you enjoy. One thing that Kevin really enjoys is baseball, but even more so, in my opinion, and Kevin can tell me if I'm wrong, Kevin enjoys going to baseball games. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like, Major League Baseball. Kevin just likes to be at the game. He's one of those people. So how are you dealing with all this?
Well, I'll start with a little bit just about the pandemic in general. In general, it hasn't been that bad because I've been a work-at-home dad for 14, 16 years now. So being home all the time is not a big thing for me. It's been a much bigger adjustment for my family. So with my wife going to work all the time, my kids being home all the time and everything. So my big joke about the whole thing was just that, they're all living in my world now. And that I would just be like, downstairs laughing about it because they're like all trying to come up with ways to cope with everything. And if they can't go somewhere to the store, see their friends or whatnot, I'm like, that's my life.
Mm-hmm. Besides the baseball.
Yeah.
And that's when you get out, right?
Yeah, but that's the one thing. The great thing about working at home is that, I used to, as soon as the baseball schedules come out for major and minor leagues in my area, and that's usually, anytime from November, December to early January, February, I would sit down one day and I would look through and find all the day games that were being played, and I would put it in that I could drive to, and I'd put them on my schedule, and I'd try to work them into my schedule so I could go up. I drive up to Hartford, which is an hour and a half away, to see the Yard Goats, which is the Rockies AA team. I go see the Mets. Sometimes I go see the Yankees. There's a couple independent teams. There used to be one in Bridgeport, which is half an hour from me. There's one up in New Britain, which has a really good microbrewery in the stadium, which is great. Avram, if you ever see Avram beers, they have their own little bar there and everything, but the brewery's right nearby. And I'd go. I discovered it's up in Poughkeepsie, near Poughkeepsie. Was it the Hudson Valley Renegades, which is a single A team? I can't remember who they're affiliated with, but I found them last year. So I used to go and see and that'd be a big thing for me. So I'd leave the house at 9 o'clock in the morning because most of those games would play either at 10 or 11 o'clock. And that'd be a big, And I'm a geek. I keep scoring the games. It got so bad that I've actually bought my own like baseball scorebook so I can keep all the games together in one spiral notebook thing.
Right.
You know, so I put a little knapsack, have that, you know, have my little radio. If there's a radio broadcast for the game, I listen to it while I'm keeping score and stuff. Unless, of course, I ended up meeting somebody there and hanging out with them. Like one time I was hanging at a Yard Goats game, and a guy was up there. He was picking his daughter up from college. And he's like, yeah, I had the day off because we moved all the stuff yesterday. So I came out to the game. So I hung out with him in the barbecue area that they had at the Yard Goats, watching the game and talking baseball the whole time with them. And it was great. And yeah, it's been weird. It's been a very strange thing.
Strange trip.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, I also coached Little League, and we didn't have, you know, that season we had just started. We had like 1 week of practice in March before everything got shut down. Mm-hmm. And we had nothing going on up until end of June, and then it restarted. And so we just actually finished the season. We played a short season, and that just ended. And that was just bizarre. Because I'm spending all my time yelling at the kids, 6 feet apart, pull your mask up, give me your hand so I can spray sanitizer on. And yeah. Needless to say, we were 4-8. So
and so if you do get down to the Hudson Valley again, when we are allowed to roam free again, that's literally 2.5 hours. I think Poughkeepsie's 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Oh.
So if that's the case, then I think we'll have to make a trip and have some beers there at a game, even though I'm not a baseball fan, but I don't like watching baseball on TV at all. Mm-hmm. At least if you're at a baseball game, it's more like an event. There's like things going on, you know, going to a baseball game live is fun. Like for me, watching on TV is like watching tennis. I'm not going to be interested in that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's sports that are like baseball, hockey. I love watching hockey live. I almost never sit and watch hockey on TV because it's just such a totally different experience. I love watching hockey live.
Yeah.
You know, and football is the opposite way. Football is so much better on TV than it is seeing it live.
Yeah, it is. I will tell you too, the idea of like going to NBA games. I've been to a couple, and I'd much rather sit at home and watch a game. Like it's a lot of manufactured, hey everybody, let's do this, and I'm like, okay, great, but I'm here watching a game and I don't want to do that stuff. I'd much rather sit at home and watch on TV where I can see endless angles and replays, and so that's for me though. Like I agree, hockey is one of the best sports I've ever seen live. Greg used to play hockey, so
yeah, good times.
Yeah.
Hockey is one of those. I would agree, it's better in person than it is on TV.
I'm being debated by my wife.
Oh, I'm just gonna sit here.
Oh my gosh.
Not in the camera.
Cameo appearance.
There's her wife down there in the corner.
Whoa!
My camera kept pausing.
Oh, she was trying to watch the live stream, and she said it kept freezing on her.
Oh, you guys gotta get better internet.
Well, yeah, probably. She was probably watching on Wi-Fi. So. All right, so I'm gonna open up a different beer now because the tangerine was just not doing it for me.
Hockey is the best live game.
This is Sycamore. Oops, sorry, going the wrong way. Mountain Candy IPA.
Mountain Candy.
Yeah, I don't know what. I've had a bunch of Sycamore beers. They make a really nice lager. I brought back a golden ale. It's called Southern Girl Blonde, and it was really nice. It had a really nice. It had a little bit of fruit in it. It was really tasty. I had another one of theirs, and most of them pretty good. And I kept seeing this one on the shelf, and just the name of it, Mountain Candy, just intrigued me, and I'm assuming it's going to be sweet. I'm hoping it's going to be sweet, or else I'll probably be disappointed.
Yeah, because candy implies some sugar element there, I would think.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Hey, Greg, did you notice they do a Black is Beautiful variant?
Nope.
Halloween beer.
I have not had any of the black. Well, I never go out, so I have not. I've barely gone out. I haven't seen it had any black is beautiful stouts. How are they?
I've only been able to have one. The one I had was excellent. Greg, how many have you had? I know, like our buddy Jeff's had like 6.
Yeah, I know. I've seen
I'm
them.
like, well, he's also pretty well where he is. There's a lot of breweries, so he's able to have a bigger pool to pull from. So,
all right. So according to the can, Mountain Candy is hop burst and double dry hopped, juicy hints of stone fruit and rainbow candy with notes of citrusy dankness.
do you get any of that?
I get a little dankness and a little. Okay, I guess you can taste a little bit of that kind of rock candy flavor on it initially, and you get a little bit of fruit. Yeah, it's not like overpowering, but it's pretty good. I mean, it's much better than the tangerine Sessionnail.
You actually tried the session beer, and knowing that session isn't really your jam, so at least you gave it a go.
Like I said, it's like non-alcohol. I'll go every now and then. I used to go up to, before the pandemic, I used to go up to Total Wine, and for a while I was trying out all the non-alcoholic beers because there were so many of them now.
Yeah.
Like, it's got to be better than they were. Like, I hadn't had non-alcoholic beer since Rhonda was pregnant, because I was supposed to be not drinking around her. And she would have some. She would have that every now and then, and they were awful, just plain awful. They are a lot better now. They're still, yeah. I mean, there's one in Connecticut called Athletic, which is they make a couple things that are pretty good.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, you had somebody on who was talking about that.
Yeah, Matt Screen was talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, their stout. It tastes like, I mean, I think 3 out of 5 people would mistake it for a regular stout. But outside of the alcohol, I mean, it's the exact same like calorie count as having a Guinness. So I'd just rather have a Guinness. and that's so low alcohol anyway to begin with.
Yeah.
And yeah, I forget the name of the one I think it was called Well-Being, the one that was like the electrolytes. It really does taste like orange Gatorade. It's bizarre. It's carbonated. It's like very low carbonated orange Gatorade.
No, doesn't have any hoppy taste.
I don't remember it having any. I remember the first taste I took of it, I'm like, whoa, this is really good. And then after I took a couple more, I'm like, oh no, it's not. Because I think my expectations were so low when I first had it, and it just had so much flavor to it. But then all the flavors kind of came together, and just like it was like, this is not a good choice.
It's still better than Jules.
Oh God,
right.
Yeah, Jules is still awful. I haven't had one of those in a long time. That was terrible.
Remember, Greg, the one that we had with Matt that we both really liked was the Lagunitas hop water, which is just like tastes like hoppy, like it literally tastes like hoppy water. I mean, it's really
That was nice. I like it. I'm surprised we haven't seen more of those, but I don't know, maybe we will in the future. Doug, now it's time for our sponsor.
That would be you.
Does our sponsor know that he's our sponsor?
No, that would be you, Kevin. So you get to talk. We aren't that big. So basically, you get to talk about whatever you like, any projects, or if you just have a statement or whatever the hell you want to talk about. So it's all of the.
It is your time.
Okay, well, let me give a plug to. I mentioned before. I've been doing a lot of work for ConnecticutBeer.com over the summer. They just relaunched their website. It's run by a guy. He also does beerfest.com. So if you've ever bought tickets to a beer festival, he does a lot of the work, coordinating the sales all the way through producing the actual festival, from ticketing to marketing to on-site management of what's going on there. But ConnecticutBeer.com, they just redid their website. I wrote a bunch of the copy for it. Greg's searching around for it right now. I can tell.
Yeah. not getting any business here. What's going on? Anyway.
Look up. It's CT. I'm sorry. It's ctbeer.com. So
Okay,
CT abbreviation. Yeah.
Connecticut.
No, we just use the postal abbreviation. It's ctbeer.com.
Well, that's how I always remember how to spell Connecticut is connect.
Connect, I cut. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it right there.
Look at that. That's sharp.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I have learned a lot about Connecticut breweries doing this. I wrote a few of the. If you scroll down, there's some like beer tours. Yeah, the beer map is actually really cool. That's one of his big pet projects.
I didn't expect to see that many beer breweries in Connecticut.
It's been a big booming industry in the last 5 years. I can't remember. I know I read some stats along the way when I was doing the research. Those traveler guides, a bunch of those I put together. And I learned a lot about the history of some of these towns, and because everything, as you well know, all these breweries are all built in repurposed factories. And so I learned a lot of interesting things about the history of manufacturing in Connecticut. But yeah, Connecticut, they've had a huge brewery boom in the last 5 years. And I know one of the towns that I wrote about, I think it was Wallingford, they had like one brewery 6 years ago, and now they've got like 5 or 6. And Wallingford, not a big city.
That's super interesting.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm looking at that map, and Connecticut's not a ginormous state, so I was not expecting to see that many markers on it. Like, just that's pretty impressive for this side.
Unfortunately, I live down in the little tail that's next to New York, where there's like very little. Everything is in the middle or upper part of the state.
Well, maybe you can move. You work from home.
I know.
Well, excellent. That's cool. So if anyone in the area, especially, when are we going to be back traveling? As far as people are traveling, but I mean, I'm talking about in mass. I'm talking about in, where I don't have to call up to ask if you're. See, for me, it's just, as a brewery traveling guy, it completely makes no sense until we open up, because I'm already restricted by a lot of the times where breweries are not open or what time they open. Sometimes I'm ready to go at 10 o'clock in the morning. I got to wait till noon. What's going on? I'm just tasting. I'm not trying to get all drunk in the morning. But, in places where some breweries are, I know there's still breweries in Madison that are not open. They're just doing curbside, or they're just doing, our friends Giant Jones, Doug, they're just doing their cases. They're still just selling. They're not open yet. So when I roll to, a place, I want to be able to go to all the breweries, or at least have most of them available, and they're just not available. So, yeah, I don't know when we're going to get back, man, but when we do, that's a good place to start, especially for Connecticut, it appears. Yeah,
the sad thing when I was doing some of that work is some of these breweries that I was writing about had just opened up in the last 6 months. And, but the good thing is, from what I've been hearing and what I've been reading, is that a lot of the breweries have been kind of banding together to try to help one another out whenever they can, in terms of, bringing in other, beers from other breweries, helping them with canning, helping them with production, helping them with distribution, which has been really nice. And the guy, like I said, who I do the work for on ctbeer.com, he's been actually pivoting to doing a lot of virtual beer tasting and beer dinners, and he's even in beer festival events, which he would get he's getting breweries in, and he's giving people information, say, hey, if you want to join us online, you can go pick up the beer here, and then you can join us for the tasting online, and you can actually taste it, and we'll talk about it at the same time that you're doing it. So, I mean, people are trying to be creative with it, which is really nice, because it's kind of sad that this industry was really starting to take off around here, and then all this came, and because some of these guys put a lot of effort into some of these breweries and brew pubs that they created in the last 6 months.
Yeah. I think you said, what was that comment from Daniel about going to see Connecticut breweries? Because Daniel's from New York City, so I'm sure he'd be down to zoom up.
Oh, yeah.
He'd be down to go to any brewery whenever.
Sounds like my kind of guy.
He is our kind of guy. Yes.
That's our guy. So yeah.
So what are you seeing around what are Connecticut breweries? So Kevin, you live in New York, but you I'm sorry, you live in Connecticut, right?
Yeah, but I live right on the border of New York. In fact, we're considered the part of Connecticut that's really New York.
Gotcha. So are you seeing the same
David Letterman.
Oh, I'm sorry, Doug.
You're David Letterman.
Yes.
Did he used to drive from Connecticut to New York, and that was like the big thing? So
yeah, he lives in I'm not sure if he was living in the town next to us for a long time. So
I'm going to say that he probably can afford to live a different place at this point.
Yes.
So Kevin, are you seeing what Doug and I are seeing is some places doing curbside for breweries, some places opening, some places still closed? Is it still like a mixed bag over there?
Yeah, I mean, tap rooms obviously are closed. We have in Connecticut. I mean, for
not here. There's some open here.
Yeah, restaurants they're open, but it's very limited indoor capacity. If you've got outdoor space, it's fine. And I know because there's one of the breweries here in town. They did a can release, and I went down and picked up stuff. And they were, they had a couple tables outside. It was a small tap room to begin with, but they usually had some benches outside.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of them are doing curbside pickup, or they're trying to make outdoor seating when they can. They're taking over, commandeering parking lots that are right next to them, or any little bit of green space that they can.
Yeah.
I know there's one of the only places I've gone out to in terms of since they opened up restaurants again. My wife and I went out to a restaurant that had got like 85 beers on tap. They took over the whole side parking lot of the mall. It's like a strip mall that they're in. So they set up a beer garden outside.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
And actually, the tables are pretty far apart. So that's the only reason we went out there. It's like the only time I've gone out to eat since this whole thing started. And that's only because we knew we could be outside and we could be away from. Of course, we went and we picked the table on the far end away from everybody. There was one table left next to us, and this whole family of like 12 with little kids running around come and take it and sit down right next to us. And we sat there for like 3 minutes, and I told my wife, I said, I feel really uncomfortable. Let's move over a couple tables.
Yeah, I would have done the same damn thing. I would have said that, but like, you can have this. I'll be over there.
Yeah, kids running around. You just don't know where they're going to end up. So, but that was the only time we've gone. Like when we went on vacation, normally like there was a great beer bar on the pier of the Outer Banks. It's called Fishhead. That's actually the shirt I'm wearing. It's one of the few oceanfront bars that's there in that section of the Outer Banks, and they usually have about 40 beers on tap, and that's like a hangout, and we can walk up to it from the place that we stay at, and we didn't do anything there. I mean, I think they got takeout one day before I came down, but but they had outdoor seating and all that stuff, and I'm like, not going anywhere near it.
No, not in the middle of a touristy spot. Like we went up to Maine and we rented a house in Maine, but we were like kind of away from everybody. So we just kind of hunkered down and we did some hiking and just kind of kept ourselves separate from everybody. And that sucked. But honestly, when we go on vacation now, because our kids are teenagers and your kids are teens, I don't know if you have the same experience. It's like, for our kids, it's like, I just want to go out and just relax and not do a lot of shit. It's not like, here, let's plan everything out to the T and we're going to do 15 things this day. We'll go, okay, well, today we're going to go do this. And one day, almost all of our kids, so like my oldest boyfriend came with us and, all 4 of our kids. And one of our kids was like, I don't want to do this. And we went tubing, which seems not exciting. And it was exciting, but it was super relaxing. And our kids, because of the way everything is now, are like, I just want to kind of de-stress. and it was really cool. And we just kind of, Maine is gorgeous and really easy to just kind of chill out at. I don't know where you were in the Outer Banks. I've been to the Outer Banks a couple of times with my in-laws. We always went to like Duck or Corolla or something like that. So
we go to. I've been going down the Outer Banks for 30 years now. In fact, we own a couple of rental properties down there, and that's our retirement plan in about 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But when we go down to this vacation that we do, we go down for 2 weeks. We go stay in South Nags Head.
Okay.
So we're like pretty close. We're almost at the farthest point that you can go before you hit the Cape Hatteras National Forest.
Okay.
Before that, you have to go over the bridge and go onto the other, go into the other section of the lower part of the lower section. And yeah, we're kind of the same thing. I mean, we rent a house and we tend to just be, go to the beach. The house we have has a pool, and we hang out there. Usually do like one. Normally we do one thing. Like last year we did tubing and wakeboarding, and we did that, and I almost got killed. And no, literally, we were in the boat, and the guy that we hired to go wakeboarding, to take us wakeboarding, and we pull out of his thing. We're on the sound part. There's the Outer Banks. It's a barrier island, so there's a sound side. So he was on the sound side to do the tubing. And we pull out, and he's going through the pylons there to get out to the channel to get there. And I'm up at the front of the boat, and he just like floors it. And we're headed straight for this pylon. And this guy's apparently been doing this for years and years and years. And we're headed straight toward it. And I'm like, normally as my wife will back me up, I'm a fairly panicky guy and very cautious about this. And it's coming towards us at like 30, 40 miles an hour. And I'm like, he's got to turn the boat. He's been doing it. He knows what he's doing. He's going to turn the boat. And it just could come, and then like I'm getting strange. I was like, maybe it's on like a pivot, and it like you hit it and it goes down.
That's what you're hoping for.
So literally, there was a guy, one of the people we were vacationing with. I was sitting in the front of the boat, but he was directly in front of me in the bow, and he had his back to all this. And a second or two before we hit the thing, and it's a big wooden pylon, I yelled, "Look out," or "Duck," or something. And he went down, and the boat hit the thing, and the top of the pylon, he like split the top of the pylon, and it came through the center, down the walkway in the center of the boat. It hit the guy in the front of me on his elbow. He ended up having to go to the hospital. He had like a really bad bruise. There was a big bolt going through holding the sign on the pylon. He got hit in the elbow with it. It's funny now, but it was freaking terrible. And this is when we're pulling out before we even start.
My question would be, did you continue after that?
Yes, we did. The guy like was very apologetic. He offered to like, "Do we need to go back? Do you need to go to the hospital?" And our friend's like, "No, I'm fine." So he gutted it out for the whole thing. He went to the hospital later on that day, but he gutted it out for the next 4 hours while we were out there wakeboarding and tubing.
Jesus.
But yeah, so that basically, your whole life flashing before your eyes. It kind of literally happened to me.
Wow.
Nice.
Okay.
So needless to say, we did not go wakeboarding this year.
All right.
I think that would be off the menu after that experience.
Yes. Instead, my wife and a couple of the other people that we vacation down there with every year, they went out. I don't know if you guys ever watched Outer Banks Wicked Tuna Outer Banks, I guess it's called. It's a reality show on, I think, National Geographic. And it's about these fishermen. They go out and do bluefin fishing. And it's a big competition or whatever. But they went out on they rented one. They got a charter on one of the boats that's on there, and they went out fishing for part of the day, and they all got violently seasick. Even my wife, who never gets violently seasick. I always get violently seasick, even if it's calm. So needless to say, I stay back at the house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not. The seasickness doesn't fly with me. Doug, do you do seasickness? Where are you at with that?
No, I actually don't. I don't get seasick. I don't get car sick. I don't get air sick. I don't have any of that. I'm really lucky on that. A quick story on seasickness, though, that's kind of funny, is that my ex-wife and I were in Hawaii, and we were doing like one of these things where you're on a pontoon boat and they have dinner and it's blah, blah, blah. We're docked and a storm comes and the boat is just in the dock. Like we're just all over, like dishes on the buffet are sliding all over the place. I'm like, we're not going out in this, right? And all of a sudden my ex goes and runs to the bathroom. Yep, she's running on something that's doing this. And it looks like somebody who's like windmilling because they're trying to. And she gets to the bathroom. She said one of the people who is like the workers on the boat was throwing up in the toilet next to her. Like they're like, it's never this bad. And I'm like, and here I am, like I'm drinking a beer, watching all this fucking shit unfold. I'm laying against the wall, like kind of like this. And I'm telling you, it's so rocky. Like the table that held all the.
I'm surprised. Normally, what they tell you when you go on a boat, they're like, if you get seasick, you should not go to the bathroom and throw up. You should throw up overboard.
Yeah, they usually do.
Because they don't want the mess to clean up inside.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that it was like people were just like kind of bolting towards the bathroom because it was so rocky. I wasn't seasick at all. I was just like marveling at the fact that they allowed people on the boat knowing this fucking thing was coming. And like, it was just ridiculous. It was like,
yeah. They warned my wife and the people she went out with that they said it was kind of, the swells were pretty bad. And most of them had taken Dramamine. My wife never takes Dramamine because she normally does not get seasick.
Yeah.
And that's how you know it was really bad, because she threw up. But apparently I've heard the story from multiple sources on the boat. They like that she was reeling in a fish, stopped, puked overboard, came back and finished the fish off.
That's a trooper, man.
Meanwhile, like the first time I realized I got seasick, we flew out to California, went to Long Beach, and she's like, "Oh, let's do a half-day fishing trip. I always wanted to do that." I'm like, "Fine." And I'd ridden on ferries and stuff before, and it never occurred to me that I would get seasick. And I was completely fine on the way out. And as soon as we stopped, I think I had one cast, and I had reeled it in. I was getting ready to bait the fish again, and it just all of a sudden, boom. And that was it. And yeah, seasickness is the worst thing because you know there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. It's just like you can't do anything about it till you get back on land.
You're just miserable for however long you're out.
Yeah. I see somebody in the comments mention something about the new the donut infused beers from Dunkin' Donuts. I just saw something online about those the other day.
This is an old Dunkin' Donuts Harpoon. That's old school.
That is old school. That's been around.
No, but it's new. It's not the coffee. They just did the one coffee thing. They're supposed to be donut infused. There's a donut one and a Boston cream donut one.
Well, considering I think Dunkin' Donuts coffee tastes shitty and their donuts aren't great either, I don't think I'll have either of them.
I admit Dunkin' Donuts makes terrible donuts. I used to really like them because I love donuts. I used to really like them. They're not good.
They used to be really
donut place around here called Donut Delight that they're so much better.
Donut Delight. Okay.
Yeah. It's a little local. They have like 3 or 4 in our area here.
All right. Well,
but the beers are by Harpoon, and I like Harpoon. They're one of the best brewery tours I ever took was Harpoon up in Boston.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought Harpoon, for some reason I thought Harpoon was out in California, so I don't know why I thought that. But.
No, they're originally from Boston, but they also have a facility up in Windsor, Vermont, which, if I remember them properly, they were telling me, I think they do the Boston one, and this was like years ago. This had to be like, my kids were small. This had to be like 8 years ago. That was one of the photos I sent you, Greg, when you were looking for like a publicity photo. When I had like the orange cone on my head, that was the Harpoon Brewery tour. They do most of the keg. They do like all the kegs and stuff they do in Boston, but up in Vermont where they do all the bottling. and canning work because it's a bigger facility. But I mean, they were the nicest guys in the world. They let us actually drink beer from the green beer from the fermenting vats, so we could try the difference between when it was still fermenting and before it was finished.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How dare you talk about Dunkin' Donuts like that?
I love Dunkin' Donuts coffee,
Anyway,
but I haven't gone out for Dunkin' Donuts coffee in like a year now, because even before the pandemic, I just stopped going out to them because I realized I was just spending a lot of money and getting a little caffeinated.
What are you saying, Doug?
I'll talk about Dunkin' anyway I damn well please. All right, what's this one, Greg?
What is the worst condiment, Doug?
I'm going to say tartar sauce.
Okay. Kevin?
The worst condiment?
People are, especially online, people get really
They get heated.
they get
I
heated.
would say mayonnaise. I'm not a mayonnaise fan.
Mayonnaise.
I mean, outside of putting it on tuna fish, I never have mayonnaise.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say relish.
Depends on the relish. Depends on the relish.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you do with relish?
Well, see, here's the thing. I picked tartar sauce, and that's mayo and relish. Tartar sauce is.
So there we go. We have a winner.
There we go. It came full circle there.
I bridged the gap.
Yes. Manny says relish. Right.
I think relish is I think it's one of those things that you go, okay, well, there's certain things you might think that that's acceptable on.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I could think of is hot dogs.
That's it.
That's it, literally. Oh,
Yeah.
hot dogs.
I will put relish in when I make tuna salad.
Right.
So mayonnaise. So essentially, I'm making tartar sauce when I make tuna salad because I'm putting mayonnaise and relish in it.
Right.
Who puts their the ketchup in the hot dog in front of people from Chicago? Yeah, that's cool.
I would totally do that
cool.
shit. I would totally do that. You freaking Chicagoans and your mustard and freaking onions, you can shove it. It's ketchup and mustard. That's what
it's the nuclear peppers and pickle. It's the peppers, right? Those are like the nuclear green things that they have. The peppers.
That's when you're having bratwursts or things like that. Then you put some onions and shit on that. That I get.
Yeah, Chicago's pickle peppers. It's a whole. It's
a mess.
It's fantastic. I'm sorry, it is. And also, Doug, this is where me and you disagree hard. You don't put ketchup and mustard on anything ever.
Not a burger?
Ketchup and mustard, they don't go together. They're oil and water. They don't go together ever. It's disgusting. It's horrible.
Kevin, would you like to chime in, Kevin? Because I'd like to hear your opinion on this.
It's horrible.
I think he's frozen up.
Kevin's frozen.
Yeah.
Daniel adds a little mustard to his tuna salad. I can't do tuna salad. Where are you at with tuna salad?
Me either. My youngest son will make tuna salad sandwiches every day for lunch. He loves that shit, and he makes it all himself. And I'm like, good on you. I'm not doing that.
So it looks like Kevin,
as a Chicagoan,
ketchup, mustard, and relish.
Maybe relish.
Really?
Man,
wow, I don't know how long.
Chicago people are going to be upset with that.
They're going to be upset.
Hey man, I'm going to open my third one if you don't mind, because this one I've been really excited about because I've never had it before. I've never even heard of it.
Does it have ketchup or mustard?
Yeah. It is called a lager wine.
Oh, it's Jack's Abbey's again.
Yeah, but what the fuck is a lager wine? Ice maker.
Aged. Bourbon barrel. Yeah, something.
I've never heard of a lager wine. So
Manny agrees with Victor about the whole. Yeah. Oh yeah, a lager wine. Victor does not follow rules, Doug.
Victor's a rebel. All right, so this is 13% ABV. So
For what?
I'm back.
welcome back, sir.
I don't know. All of a sudden, I got the blue screen of death, and so because it just said something went wrong and just completely went dead. I must have offended the makers of relish.
Okay, this
Yeah.
smells terrible. It smells terrible.
What do you mean by smell? What does terrible smell like? Does it smell like a tire?
So it's a barrel aged. I don't know what a fucking lager wine is. It's like it smells like if you took lager wine, mixed it together in a barrel.
Oh, is this the Jack Sabby thing that you had?
Yeah.
See, I told you I was equally repelled and intrigued by it.
The smell is not alluring. I will say that straight up.
Well, here you go. Apparently, it's a subvariant of barley wine.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. Not as good as a barley wine in my estimation. But what's weird is the smell is kind of off-putting.
What's it smell like?
But it's really smooth. It's like it smells like what it sounds. It sounds like it smells like you threw a beer and a wine together and threw it in a barrel. That's what it smells like. But the taste is really fucking smooth. It's not, when you drink a barley wine, that just kind of hangs on your palate for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not like this. You get that barley wine flavor and it just kind of says, okay, see you later. And that just moves on. It's surprisingly smooth.
That's interesting. I'm not normally a wine flavored beer guy. I've had a couple that are like, I was at a beer fest and I think it was a Two Roads beer. It was like it was like a Chardonnay. It was a Chardonnay Gose, I think. Yeah. And I literally, I think my wife saw me do it. I spit it on the ground. It was so terrible.
So yeah, I would say I like a lot of Jack Sabby's beers. I do.
Yeah, they're usually pretty good.
Their Framing Hammer series is really great. This is, if you're a barley wine person, you probably like this. Barley wines are super hit or miss with me. This is a bit of a miss just because
it stinks.
It stinks. It does. Because the flavor is pretty decent. The flavor tastes like a light barley wine, but it just, the scent is just not great. I will say this, it's 13%. What I have here is one finishing. The rest of the bottle is not something I will finish. And I rarely waste beer. It is something as a father, I am loath to waste any freaking thing. And beer is one of those things, but it's a little too much for my palate. So there.
Well, speaking of Framingham, Massachusetts, and since I know I've been talking a lot about Connecticut beers, I guess it's appropriate for me to announce that I am actually moving to Massachusetts in a few weeks.
Massachusetts. Kaboom.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. Yes, get your little. Where's the little breaking news thing at the bottom?
Yeah, we got it.
So where are you moving to in Massachusetts?
Well, as of right now, I plan to be homeless in Massachusetts because we haven't found unless if you know somebody who's in the Andover area of Massachusetts, which is about an hour north of Boston. My wife just got a job up there about a month ago, and we took advantage of the pandemic panic when all the people. Well, the bizarre thing is, we're a suburb of New York, and we put our house up for sale, and we were expecting to get all these New York people who are panicking to get out of the city and into the suburbs away from COVID. And basically, almost everybody who came and looked at our house was all pretty much local. And the person who ended up buying our house actually lives about 1.5 miles away from us. So, so this all kind of happened. The whole thing kind of happened. Thank you, Greg. I had the breaking news thing. Thank you very much. I feel like I'm on CNN right now.
Oh, yeah.
So, so her job is up at a company that's in Andover, which is about an hour north of Boston. And it all kind of works out because my daughter goes to Simmons, which is right near Fenway in Boston. And my son is starting at Northeastern, which is right next to Simmons in Boston in a week. So it's actually going to work out. So we'll actually be a lot closer to the kids, although I'm only going to be a few hours away from Connecticut. And I still have my some family here. So I'll still be back in Connecticut probably more than I want to be.
Yeah, but Kevin, once I know you've already thought of this, but I'm going to say it. Like once COVID breaks and we get back, you got a whole new plethora of baseball places to go.
I know. I do because the Red Sox AAA team in Pawtucket, I think they're moving to somewhere in Massachusetts now. And I've already been told. I know there's I know Portland, Maine's got a team, the Sea Dogs, and I know there's a team up in New Hampshire because I've seen them before. The name escapes me right now, but I know I've seen them before. So so there's going to be a whole new thing there. Yeah,
you hunt these things like I hunt breweries, and that's what would be the first thing I thought of. Yes, we're moving. Where? What breweries are near?
What breweries are near? Right. I have not investigated that. I know there is a brew pub because my wife, and she was up there at her to meet with her new employer and look around for houses and stuff. There is a brew pub that's in the town there that she tried, and she brought me a couple of those beers home, and they weren't bad. One of them was pretty good. It was a red ale. It was pretty good. The other one, I'm blanking on what it was because it wasn't very. It was kind of water, colored water. But the red ale I remember was pretty good. So if anybody knows of any homes that are available in the North Andover area of Massachusetts, email me.
Who's on? So I was on my third beer. What are you guys on?
I'm on my second, but I'm almost done with it, and I've got a third I've got plenty more to dig out.
Yeah, well, grab another one.
I gave you a preview. I had like 6 beers I had to choose from.
Yeah. Well, I wish I would have brought a separate beer because this last beer was not something I'll finish. So,
go get another one, Doug.
All right.
Let's see what Kevin first.
What are you drinking, Greg?
Idiot Farm.
Yeah, one of my favorites I brought out. I poured it. This is one of my favorite. This is one of my favorite Imperial IPAs, 8%. That's 8%. It's a big juicy one, but as it gets a little bit older, the bitterness is accentuated more. I don't care because I like big IPAs, but it could be. I'm sure for most people it wouldn't be. It'd be too bitter, but I don't care about that. That's just my thing. Just like so you don't like ghosts like me. I like ghosts. Yeah. I think we both like
salty beer. I think you and I had this conversation once. We just don't understand salty beer.
Right, but we'll drink a really well made one. But they almost have to. Yeah, we totally agree. They almost have to make it so good that we don't even know it's like a ghost.
Yeah,
because that salt will just accident. So is there a beer that like, or a beer style that you like, or like an ingredient that you like that other people don't like? So for example, would be, people like Matt Elf, and you just completely hate that.
Yeah, I just hate the cherry. It has nothing to do with beer. I just have it. Like I said before, cherry reminds me of cough syrup when I was a kid because that was the worst thing. The cherry cough syrup. Is there a thing that, it's weird. Okay,
for me, it's overhop beers. Like people are like, I hate overhop beers. Generally, most of them I'm cool with. I can put them down, but like a lot of people don't. So do you have one quirky one like that?
Okay. Well, it's weird. I have a weird. When it comes to, it's funny. Like for a while, like every year there was like some new. What was the hot fruit flavor that everyone was putting in IPAs? And, 1 year it was orange. The next year it was mango. The next year it was pineapple. I've never had pineapple in a beer that tastes good because pineapple it's just, it's very, just although pineapple juice is really sweet, if you've ever like opened it, if you've like, either cut up a pineapple or even if you had a can of pineapple, if you let it sit, like put it in your refrigerator for like an overnight or something and pull it out, something happens that the gases, it just gets nasty and bitter.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had a pineapple beer that I've liked. Pineapple, I'm not a fan of. I love orange, but orange tends to be really terrible in beers, I've found, because it tends to be really bitter. I mean, when I think of orange, I usually think of like orange juice. I think of something like really sweet or like an orange creamsicle. I've had a couple orange creamsicle beers that are really good, but like Sierra Nevada makes the sidecar beers, and I hate them because it's not a sweet orange; it's a really bitter orange. I have an off and on relationship with coffee. I always think a coffee beer sounds good, and I mean, more often than not, I try it and I'm like, I'm not going to drink this. It always sounds really good to me, but it just never seems to. It never seems.
You're a coffee guy, right?
My taste palate.
And you're a coffee guy, right?
I'm not like a snob about it.
But you like coffee, though.
I like coffee, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but coffee beers.
It's weird. I mean, I think the problem is that they overdo the coffee flavor. Like I've had Harpoon. We were talking about a Harpoon. I'm not sure if they still make it, but they made like a Hefeweizen that was like it was like a coffee Hefeweizen, but it was like kind of a really light, subtle coffee flavored. Whereas like I think when they put it, a lot of people they put it in the stouts and stuff, they just slap it on, and it's just like you just get all the acidity and the bitterness of the coffee, and not necessarily all the richness of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just weird. I mean, there's some that I've had some that I like, but in general, it just doesn't seem to agree with me.
Doug, what you got?
So, in light of me not liking that last beer, I went with one we mentioned earlier, which is a Warlock.
Nice.
This is the last of the 4-pack I bought. That's how much I like this beer. So,
how many beers have you all had, y'all?
I've only had 2, Victor, and hi. Thank you for the nice shout out earlier.
Yes.
So this is like I said, I tried that other one. I drank, I think, 3 sips.
Shout out. Kevin is the best.
My third, because that other one I'm not counting.
Yeah, we're not finished.
Warlock, it's an imperial stout with pumpkin, and pumpkin is just so. It's like accentuating the beer. It's not like here's your pumpkin. It's not that. It's just a little bit of part of it, and that's my favorite pumpkin beer. So,
what I like about Oktoberfest is that Oktoberfest beers and breweries is that breweries have basically made people have an Oktoberfest plan, because it comes out so. I think it's so early sometimes that Kevin explained his plan early. He did. Doug, you explained your plan. If it wasn't this week, it was last week. Everybody has a plan. Some people's plans are grab them the first time I see them. Kevin has I love Kevin's detailed plan. I absolutely love it. But I think that like everybody, basically what it is everybody's dealing with the seasonal creep of Oktoberfest. And it's, I don't know, to me it's almost this is the most prominent one. This is the most one where like everybody, like it's equivalent. How about this? Its equivalency is Christmas, where when you see that first Christmas ornament, sign, symbol, advertisement, you're like, fuck, it's Christmas. Why are they doing this September 21st?
You don't fuck on Christmas. That's the Lord's Day.
Right. But I think, I think Oktoberfest is that one. Like when you go to the liquor store and you see it, and it's June 29th, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like I think it gives beer people that same kind of visceral, like for people who don't like Christmas before Halloween, and I don't know why you would, but any comment on that? I think Oktoberfest is that style that makes you
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. I mean, the worst offender of all is, and I have a soft spot for Sam Adams because that's like one of the first craft beers I really got into. And Jim Cook served me beer once at the brewery, so that was pretty cool. But they are the worst offenders with the seasonal creep thing. And I mean, my every year it's like, it would be like the first day of it'd be the first day of winter, and I'll be in the supermarket and Sam Adams will have its spring beer at what's the crappy spring beer that they do now. They've had one that I really, really liked, Alpine Spring, which they stopped after 1 year. But what is it, Cold Snap?
Cold Snap.
Yeah, Cold Snap.
Weak. I'm with you.
Yeah, but they're by far the worst offender of the seasonal creep. And that's the thing. When we go on vacation to North Carolina, it's usually the second, third week of August, and you go down there and it's the beach and it's North Carolina and it's 90 degrees out, and you go in. Most of the supermarkets have really good beer selections, and you go in. The only Oktoberfest you ever find is Sam Adams. Although this year I found Saranac, which was pretty funny.
Carolina?
How I always say this every year. It's like I have to go to North Carolina to get a beer that's brewed in the state the next to where I live because I can't get it in Connecticut anymore.
All right. So can I ask you about Saranac, because I have not found a lot of their beers that I like.
It's Saranac is the same thing as Sam Adams. I have like a soft spot for it because it was one of the first craft brews that I had that I really had. And I used to be able to find it, and it was fairly cheap around here. But for a while, they stopped the distribution, and apparently they brought it back, and then they stopped it again a couple years ago. Okay. And yeah, I agree. I mean, they do make some beers a lot of their beers are not that great. I mean, it used to be called Adirondack Lager. I think they changed the name of it. They make a lager that's really, really good. Like this is like a straight basic lager, and their pale ale is really good. And they make, was it the Black Forest?
Black Forest Black IPA is actually a decent one.
The Black Forest is really good.
They make a very good caramel porter.
Right. Yeah, we had this. I had the s'mores porter when I was down in North Carolina. When I was down in North Carolina, I had a New York beer that was the s'mores porter, which was really good.
No, see, I will disagree with you on the s'mores porter.
You didn't like the s'mores porter? You like the caramel better?
Yes.
Okay.
So the s'mores porter, I don't know if you got it down there. It was in like a jug, like a.
No, it was a 6-pack.
Okay.
I've seen the jugs before because I know they usually they used to sell the pumpkin beers in the jugs up here.
Yeah, and that was like that. Maybe in the 6-pack is better, but that jug one was like.
Yeah. No, they may. I mean, when I was down there this year, I bought. The store. This one store I was in had 2 12-packs. One was it was the German Roots one, which is the Oktoberfest, a hoppy Oktoberfest, a Pilsner, and I think the Black Forest was the other one. And then they had still like a 12-pack of the summer brews. And I bought the summer brews one because I had most of the ones except the hoppy Oktoberfest. I've had most of the ones in the German one. And the summer brews were okay. They made a haze, which was all right. Gosh, I can't even remember what the other ones were. There was a Pilsner, which was okay. They're okay. But again, I have a sentimental spot for them. So, and the thing is that I can only get them when I go to North Carolina. So I usually always buy a 12-pack when I'm down. I buy something from them when I'm down there because it just reminds me of when I first started doing this. So.
Can I make one point before we start wrapping things up? But another seasonal creep beer, and one that I love is Langenkugel's Summer Shandy. I see that shit coming out in like March.
Yeah, they're all over the place now.
And I like that beer. And here's what I do. I buy a 6 or 12-pack of that, and that's good. I don't need any more. I'm good. But I see that stuff coming out in March when in upstate New York, March is cold. It's not it's not hot like what you need for a shandy beer. A shandy beer is made for summer. So that one always has a seasonal creep that I see creeping earlier and earlier as well.
We're wrapping up. Okay, I have to do this beer because I got this one specifically just for Doug. Because I know you're a Russian Imperial Stout guy, right?
I am.
All right. So this is there we go. Lost Colony Holy Hand Grenade beer. Lost Colony is it's in Manteo, North Carolina, which is just off the Outer Banks.
Right.
Manteo is its famous resident is Andy Griffin. They actually have a statue of Andy Griffin in Manteo, North Carolina. I'm serious. I'm not lying. I was just reading something online that he shot like an entire episode of Matlock in Manteo. It was like a big deal. So Lost Colony, it's a small little brew pub, and they're very bound to British traditions, and they make some really nice British beers, and they have awesome can art.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I brought a couple other ones up. Let's see. This is their Nag's Head IPA. Let me see there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it's more like a Bass than it is a traditional IPA. And I love the description they write on the can. It's hilarious. It's like the British invented the India Pale Ale, and they never intended it to be a clown car of hops. Beer has 4 ingredients: malt, hops, water, and yeast. Malt is the soul, and hops are the spice. We keep the soul and add it more British hops for spice.
A cloud car of hops.
Yeah, they I didn't bring it, but they also have another. They have like a really dry Irish stout, which is pretty good. And I'm like such a big fan that I had. Yeah, like talking about the art. So this is like their Irish Red is pretty good. This is I bought one of the T-shirts. There we go. Oh yeah, this is the shirt I bought a couple of years ago, which is the Stout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're super guys too. First off, they're Met fans, so you got to love that they're Met fans in North Carolina. They have a Met flag hanging outside the brewery.
You won't hold that against them.
I won't hold that. I'm a Met fan. I can't help it. So, and they like have a truck and they drive around and make deliveries. And if you ever find their Facebook feed, Lost Colony Brewery and Cafe, they do some pretty funny videos every now and then. They did one like with the Rocky music going about them preparing to make deliveries and stuff. Where I had the guy working on the taps to as opposed to like working on like the speed bag, he was like working the taps like this. It was pretty funny. They're totally local. They're only on the Outer Banks, and they just announced that they're moving they're going to start distributing a little bit outside on the mainland, and it's only because the guy who owns the brewery has a new grandson who's in one of the towns near there. So he's like, well, since we're already there visiting our grandson, we're going to start dropping our beers off at one of the local stores. So, all right. So this is Holy Hand Grenade, which I think I had like 4 or 5 years ago when I was actually there, and I haven't had it since.
Yeah. Nice Monty Python reference.
Yeah, it was originally called Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch. They shortened it now that they put it in cans.
Yeah.
Their whole brand looks like what Heavy Seas used to look like.
Well, no,
Right.
Heavy Seas was like that a little bit, but Heavy Seas was more cartoony. That's not quite as cartoony, but you're right. It's in that same vein.
But the whole structure and the way it's
Yeah. You're right.
set up and yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, but they're small. They changed names. They used to be called like Full Moon or something, and they've changed names, and now they're officially just called Lost Colony. Although some people still refer to them as Full Moon. They brew everything on site. They have a little brew pub with food and everything. It's fairly decent pub food, and they really just serve the local community. I'm like during the whole pandemic, they were making a big deal about going out and delivering to people out in the area out there to all the stores and everything. It's pretty good.
Yeah, cheers. Victor's right. I want to go there. You've painted a picture. Like, you know?
I don't think they can, but there's another brewery there's a couple breweries that are on the island now. There's one opened up a couple years ago. It's called, I think, Kerala Brewing. Their stuff's okay. There's one Outer Banks Brewing Station. They are actually the only apparently windmill powered brewery in the state, if not on the East Coast, I forget.
Wow.
And they make really good food, but they also brew some pretty good. It's a really cool brew pub, and they make some pretty good brews there. But there was one that opened up a couple years ago on Ocracoke Island. I don't know if you ever heard Ocracoke. You have to take a ferry to. It's the only way you can get onto it. Mm-hmm. And they got really badly flooded out last year during one of the storms or something. But there's a brewery. I want to say it's like 1792 Brewing or something. They're only available they do kegs that are available in restaurants around there. And I've never had one of their beers that's not bad. They're only like 3 or 4 years old, and they're super good. And then, then all the stuff they get in from the mainland of North Carolina is pretty good. There used to be Weeping Radish Brewery was the original brewer out there.
I've been there.
To the new one that's like on the mainland there, it's the butchery.
Yeah, the mainland, yeah, it's like that. I've been to because we drove
big barn.
Yeah, and we just stopped right there and we had a couple beers one time. So yeah, I've been to that one on the mainland.
They used to be over in Manteo was where the main was, and they had brew pubs actually on the island, and we used to stop there all the time, and they were always packed. I was really surprised that they ended up shifting and pivoting and went into butchering and as opposed to making the more brew stuff. But they serve all traditional German beers, and they used to be really, really good.
I remember. I don't remember what beers I had there. I think
the sausage.
Pretty good.
Yeah, they have good They have good sausage. Apparently, they provide a lot of meat to the Outer Banks, from what I understand.
So, before we wrap, I do want to. Normally, this doesn't happen. Normally, Doug, things don't happen while we're on live stream, but something happened while we're on live stream, and I want to bring light to it. Cool.
Please do.
Unfortunately, Chadwick Boseman passed.
What?
And I didn't even know that he was. I didn't even know about his battle with. Well, it says he had a 4-year battle with colon cancer. You know about that?
No. And he's a young guy.
Yeah, he's like in his 30s, right?
43. It says here.
43.
Even so, that's younger than I am.
Yeah, so I ain't trying to end on a bad note, but that was one thing that I saw. I got a message on Messenger, and it makes me say, obviously, but also Black Panther, fantastic movie. But I noticed that I still didn't watch that James Brown movie. Did you see that one, Doug?
I did not. I didn't realize there was a James Brown movie, but now I want to see it.
Yeah.
What movie is that? I never heard of that.
I don't know. It says that he was a lead actor, and let me pull that back up here. Where is it? It's right here. It's still there, right? Yep. It says, where am I at? Where am I at? Oh, over here. Okay. Yeah, Jackie Robinson. He played Jackie Robinson in 42, which I didn't see. And James Brown in Get On Up.
I'm not sure I ever heard of the James Brown movie.
Yeah, 2014. So I don't know. I don't know how much you follow the show or whatever, but I think Doug and I talked a little bit about this, but we talked more about it on the side. But James Brown is somebody that I've really gotten into during the pandemic, as far as going back to his old albums and checking them out. Also, there's a podcast called Danger. There's a podcast called, and Doug and I talk about this too, where it talks about old rock stars and the that they got into and all the craziness that they were into, whether it be the Rolling Stones, the Beatles. James Brown was a crazy guy. So I want to go back and see that one, but I wanted to see if you guys had any comments on that before we wrap?
No, Chadwick Boseman was like, obviously Black Panther's kind of the big jewel in the crown of what he does, but everything I saw him in, which wasn't a whole lot, he was really excellent in it. I had no idea he was fighting colon cancer. My grandfather passed away from colon cancer in his 50s. And that's...
Doug, you said your grandfather.
Yeah.
Your dad's father or your mother's father?
My dad's father. So I remember, so my grandfather lived in Florida and I lived in Pennsylvania. And when I talked to him on the phone before he passed, and then I was 13 and I went to his funeral. And I remember seeing him in the casket and he looked nothing like the grandfather saw, because that stuff just sucks all the life out of you. Like you're basically emaciates you. So I don't know, that just floors me, that, you know, and it just reminds you and reminds all of us in the middle of all this that, hey man, you got to freaking take care of yourself. And sometimes taking care of yourself is enough, because that guy was freaking in shape. And then
right.
It just shows you cancer doesn't give a shit how much you work out.
Yeah.
No, Kevin, any last notes? Comments?
I'm a big James Brown fan, so you got to turn me on to this podcast. I got to check this out.
Oh, I'll send it to you. I am.
Yeah.
I love James
I
Brown.
love all that 60 Soul Stacks stuff, and yeah.
I've been deep diving it during the pandemic, and I've been finding so Funkadelic, and I can just go on and on about the gems that, I mean, I knew that, you know that they're there, but like when you go on Spotify and you see like 15 albums,
yeah,
and you start listening to albums and you're like, damn, I like James Brown, but none of the songs I heard on the radio are as good as what I'm hearing right now. And, you know, you just go through, you know, and that's when also too, Kevin, when albums were albums. And look at this. I love how we get into conversations at like an hour and a half in. But
don't talk to me. I've been like having to sort through I've been having to thin out my CD collection for this move. It's been painful. But I have to admit, the last few years I got a Spotify subscription, and I like never listened to my CD. So like all the stuff that's like mass produced that I can find on Spotify, I've been dumping and just keeping the things that I can't find.
Right. And when you go back to old music, you can just put on an album and just do like work around the house, or, you know, do your editing and have it in the background, and you can just hear all these fantastic songs, and it's just great. So, yeah, Kevin, I will shoot you that podcast. I can't remember it now, but I will shoot you that podcast.
Cool. Yeah, thanks.
Within 24 hours, you gotta hear it. I mean, it is great. James Brown was crazy.
He was a nut. He was
a nut. Like beyond, and on top of
Nixon, wasn't he a Nixon backer on top of all this stuff?
He was a Nixon backer, and he was just all over the place.
Yeah, I remember seeing some documentary or something on him once, and about all the crazy business deals he had, and yeah, he had a restaurant chain and a whole bunch of other things, and the way he used to mistreat the band.
A lot of bandmates left. What is it here? Where is it? I'm here now. So we're it's called the podcast is called Disgraceland.
Disgraceland.
Yeah. Disgraceland. Yep. And I'm gonna I definitely send this to you. But you can get it right in Spotify. That's where I get it. And you know, Jay-Z, Guns N' Roses, the Beach Boys. Rolling Stones,
it has to be fucking
Eminem, Miss Whitney Houston, Madonna, Iggy Pop, Led Zeppelin. I mean, NWA. They just go down the list. Cardi B, James Morrison. I mean, and it's just a history of you know, their rehabs. Their rest. Amy Winehouse is here. Snoop Doggy Dogg. Remember, Snoop Doggy Dogg was on trial. Remember that, Doug?
Yes, I do.
Right.
The case that they gave me and all that shit, and like, holy fuck.
Yes, John Lennon. Oh, James Brown. What happens when the hardest working man in show business takes a break? Idle hands indeed are the devil's workshop. This episode will detail James Brown's scorching career as well as a scorching high speed chase he led cops on that led to his arrest and jail sentencing for drugs and firearms, on top of all kinds of other stuff. And another one too is I just saw his name. I forget. Where is that? I just saw his name. James Brown, Marvin Gaye. Remember, Marvin Gaye was killed by his dad, right?
Yeah.
And he was was a homeless out in Paris or something for a while during the 70s. And again, I saw another documentary about Marvin Gaye, and he was like drifting for a while after he got that big divorce from his wife in the 70s and everything. He had some real issues, both personally and professionally.
Remember Left Eye Lisa? And
yes.
She burned down his house.
Burned down her boyfriend's house, a football player for the Falcons.
Yes.
It was Andre Bad Moon Rising.
Yeah. That is actually. I can share this screen here, right? Can I share? Yeah, I can share. Here we go. Cool. So yeah, this is it right here.
Okay, cool. Make a note of that.
Yeah, it's a really good one. Phil Spector, you see here. I didn't even. That's a new one. Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones. They were into a lot of shit. They have three podcasts here, I think. At least two. And I heard
they've had 8 members over the years, so You had one guy. Keith Richards alone, you could do an entire year on Keith Richards. That guy survived everything.
Right. And one of the guys had an affair with the prime minister's wife.
Oh, I didn't hear that one. That's a new one.
Check out that podcast. It's really good. So Kevin, it's been excellent. Look at this. We've gotten the podcasts and baseball and beers and anything else you want to wrap with? Anything else we missed? You want to tell us?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to show you this, and then I'll raise the question. I mean, we talked about Jug asked me about Saranac because I have the soft spot in my heart for their fairly mediocre beers. I got this from my dad's house. It's his. My dad used to own a bar for a while. My dad's an accountant, but he owned a bar it was a dive bar. I remember being there with my dad at 5:30 in the morning. The bar's closed at 4 o'clock. But there'd still be guys still hanging out in the bar at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. It was at this dive bar, and this was one of the things that used to be in the bar, and I'm taking it with me to Massachusetts. Schaefer, yes. When it comes to crappy beers, I mean, for whatever reason, Schaefer is a crappy beer that I actually do like.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's so foamy. But it's foamy and creamy at the same time. So there's one pizza place around here that we'll go to a couple times a year, and they do serve Schaefer in cans. And every time I'm there, I have to have a Schaefer in cans because it reminds me of growing up. Because my dad used to drink Schaefer all the time.
Oh man, we all have a shitty beer that we like. So Doug, shut up.
Come on, Doug. What's your shitty beer that you like?
We'll move on.
Doug, what's your shitty beer? Doug, what's your shitty beer, Doug?
It's Labatt's.
That's not even a shitty one, though.
Yeah, Labatt's is okay.
Shitty.
No, if Labatt's wasn't Canadian, we would think that's a shitty beer.
It's a shitty. Listen, no one's arguing whether it's a shitty beer, but it's kind of like a shitty premium. It's kind of like a
give us a shitty premium beer. Come on,
shitty one. Yeah, like when I say shitty, I'm talking Natty Light.
America first, my friend.
Right. Man, yeah, Manny. Yeah, we got you, Manny. We feel you. Shit. Yeah. So I don't know. Mine would be is it Michelob Gold, or does that count?
Gold? Michelob? I'm not sure.
No.
I remember I had a friend in college who used to really like Michelob, and I hated it. I used to remember they had a really awful aftertaste to it.
Well, it's terrible. I'm not trying to say it's good.
Okay, I'm kind of vaguely remembering there was a Michelob Gold. I just remember drinking Michelob in college, and I remember the boss I had at the PR agency I worked for a year, he liked Michelob. I remember I'm like, that's a terrible beer.
Listen, I'm not saying it's good.
Yeah. Oh, hey, I used to drink Keystone in college, and I thought, I'm like, hey, it tastes like Coors and it's half the price.
That was me with Rolling Rock in college. It was Rolling Rock.
Everyone on the Northeast has had a Rolling Rock phase at one point.
Yeah, well, that was our college thing.
Ice House. I used to drink Ice House. Red Dog. Like Ice House was okay, but Red Dog was bad.
No Red Dog. Ice House. I'm giving the thumbs up for Ice House, not Red Dog. Is that what you guys are?
They don't make Ice House. I think I see it every now and then.
I would like to have an Ice House to see what it tastes like, because
I remember the whole ice beer craze. Molson Ice,
and like there's like a lot of them. Yeah,
Molson Ice is a big one.
Molson Ice was like the St. Ides of the ice beers. That's what I remember. I was like, oh, and all my friends on the basketball team be drinking freaking Molson Ice. Okay.
But
this shit fucks you up, and I was like, okay, you're right. And I drank 3 of them, and I'd be freaking tanked. So yeah,
because they were like 6% when every other beer was like 4.8.
Yeah, that's the thing. It felt like you were like the shit I was drinking tonight. If anybody drank one of those when I was in college, they would have been like blackout drunk.
Molson, I was already at Molson. Though. That was my thing. So like when ice came out, it was just natural. I was like, oh yeah, let's get the ice, right. And then I you ever do the Molson Triple X?
Yeah, oh, that's disgusting.
No, the funny thing
I had it once and it was awful.
Do you remember the thing was you got Molson Triple X, that was the American version, which was 6%, and there was a Canadian version that if you could find someone who could get it for you, and it was 10.
Right.
And people were clamoring to find a fucking Canadian because it was 4% more alcohol.
Yeah, and it was an awful beer for sure, Kevin.
Oh, yeah. It was funny. The ice rink in our town, there was a cafe up at the top. So like the kids would go for like open skating, and we go up to the cafe and you could watch them up there. And they had Molson Triple X, and I had one there. Oh, it was terrible. It was an awful beer. And I like Canadian. I'm like, I'll buy once or twice a year. I'll buy a 6-pack of Canadian.
But that was before, right? But that was before that was way before I knew what beer styles were. So all I knew is that if I drank 2 Triple X's, that was like drinking 5 regular ones. So then I would just slug it down. But I didn't know that, like, and Kevin, it was awful. Don't get me wrong. But it was all I know is if I just drink one, I can only, you know what I mean? Like, I can get my party on. I don't have to be drinking all this stuff. Like, that's what it was about. But I didn't know, like, was Molson Triple X? I need to look. Was that an Imperial Stout? Was that like a porter?
No.
What the fuck?
I think it was a malt beverage. I really do.
Was it a malt?
I think so.
Now you guys are making me look this shit
up because I don't know why I think a lot of those ice beers were malt beverages.
I don't know about that. I just know ice beers lasted a lot longer than dry beers did. I remember I had a girlfriend in college, and I think her dad was very big into Bud Dry.
Ugh.
And I remember the dry beer that thing lasted like 6 months, where ice beers actually hung around for a couple of years. It's weird. Every then I find I'm around town and I'm walking the dog or I'm walking around. I always find cans of natural ice, and I'm like, they still make this, and people drink natural beer, regardless of what it's. I remember I was in a liquor store once, and I asked the person, I'm like, I saw that big. I'm like, people buy natural. They're like, oh yeah, it's one of our bigger sellers.
Yeah, because it's cheap and you can get hammered on it really fast.
Yeah. But yeah, natural ice I know is still around. Like I said, I find cans of it every now and then when I'm out and about.
Yeah, Daniel's saying it's a malt. I'm not seeing anything on their website. Actually, they don't even list it on our website.
No, you're not going to see it now. I'm just saying back then, I'm pretty sure that was malt liquor.
But Kevin was right, though. It was a mess. It was not good.
You're in college. You're not drinking for flavor. You're like, what's cheap, and how can I get drunk as fast as freaking possible? And that was
I know they still sell that because I know I haven't been obviously to the liquor to the Total. I do try to shop local, but Total Wines up in a little way outside of the town here does have like a huge selection of craft beers. And I'll go looking down the aisles, and there is always cases of Triple X up there. And I always think about maybe I should buy. Maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought it was that day.
Like looking back now, it's sludge. So, Kevin, we keep talking about wrapping up, and we never do. In fact, we should probably.
You're all right. I've got a cooler of beers here.
When we say
we
wrap
have
up,
the show, so you can drink all that shit then.
when we say wrap up, it's probably like another half an hour after that. But Kevin, can you tell us what you liked? Review your beers and tell us what you like. The best to the worst, or the worst to the best. Or...
The beers that I had. Okay, here we go. If you ever go to the Outer Banks of North Carolina, I would definitely recommend any Lost Colony beer, especially the Holy Hand Grenade is good. They make the Nag's Head IPA is really good. The Kitty Hawk Blonde is really good. The Hatteras Red it's pretty good. My wife likes it a lot. I don't like it quite as much. Let's see. The Sycamore Mountain Candy was pretty tasty. Definitely a pretty good IPA. Definitely avoid the Swell Rider by D9. If you're into session beers and you like, like vaguely fruity session beers, it's for you. If you don't drink it. Yeah, I mean, for sipping it on the beach when it's 90 degrees out, I'm sure it's fine, but it's just not something that I would normally. I'd try it, but other than that, I wouldn't have it.
All right, Kevin. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much. I had a great time as usual. Thank you very much for having me on there. And now I expect to be on here once I get established in Massachusetts.
Yes.
Well, you have to come back for annual Mad Elf extravaganza.
Well, okay. I am going to admit, as I did on the show back in December, Mad Elf was not as bad as I remember. At least the version I had this past December was not as bad as I remember it being.
Yeah, and it does change every year for sure. I mean, I've had it some years where it's more cherry, others where it's not.
Yeah, the version we had in December was not as cherry as the one I remember having.
Well, we're doing it again, and we're going to have more surprises and more fun.
I'm there.
For sure. Hey, man, thanks for being on, Kevin.
Thanks very much for having me, guys. I enjoyed it.
Great, man. Thanks for being on, for real.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it's funny, Manny says he doesn't even drink beer, and he loves us.
Manny, you're the shit. Thanks for tuning, dude. Really.
Absolutely. Manny asked a question. He asked a question before I kind of wanted to get back to quick, but while I'm doing that, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll do my review, and I don't think it's any surprise that this was easily my least favorite. The lager wine. If you are a barley wine fan, you might like this. Again, barley wine's super hit or miss with me. This was a gigantic miss for me, which is weird because Jack's Abbey, their freaking Framingham series is great. Framinghammer. I like a lot of their stuff. This was just a real whiff for me. I actually didn't even drink it. I took about 3 sips and I dumped it, which is almost a tear in my heart to say because I hate wasting things and hate
drain pour.
What?
Drain pour.
It was. I poured it. I just was like, I can't drink that. So that was my worst one. I'm going to surprise you with some things here, but second worst one was this. And this was not bad. This was good.
Hoof-hearted.
Hoof-hearted. What a great name. I never even considered it was hoof-hearted. It's just hoof-hearted.
Right. And
I am a 12-year-old humor guy. Like, that was something that should never have escaped my brain, but it did.
They got some questionable names there, but we can go through that later.
But anyway, cool can art. and a pretty good beer. Very heavy on the vanilla. The vanilla was like very front on that. And since I dumped the other one, I grabbed a Warlock, which I freaking love. It's my favorite pumpkin beer. I don't like a lot of pumpkin beers. This is excellent. Pumpkin's very subdued. It's an imperial beer, so it's really good. It's 8.6% ABV. And I'm going to tell you, my winner tonight is a Saison.
Winner, chicken dinner.
The Great Indoors by Pipeworks Brewing out of Chicago.
You're not even a Saison dude.
I am not. I'm not as appalled by it as our buddy Kevin, but
sure.
So this is a Saison.
Right.
So it's Saison with green tea, peaches, and honey. The peaches and honey are a little prevalent. Green tea is not so much, but super freaking drinkable. Really crushable. You can drink the shit out of this.
Very simple. These are two of my favorite beers in the world, and I'm not ranking them. Thank you. So then next, let's just next. So next week, Doug, is September.
Yeah, big month.
So you see on the bottom there, Doug is very proud of the next month guests because Doug has booked them all.
Yeah.
I booked one, but she is your book, and I just re-upped her. So that will be Renee pickup. And I can't wait to have her back to talk about what she originally we originally had her on. But when we had her on and we schedule for the record for people who are watching, we schedule months out. So we don't care. Not that we don't care, but we schedule a lot and then we stop for a while. And then we schedule a lot and we stop. So, but Renee was one when we scheduled her way out, and by the time that it was time for her to come, it was social unrest and a pandemic and all that. So she's like, I really don't want to talk about, that. I'd rather talk about, I just don't feel it. So she's back to talk about what she really wants to talk about. And I'm going to even vague book that because I want you to show up. But next week we have Jesse from my favorite state, or one of my favorite states, Montana. So Jesse was supposed to be on a couple months ago. I think June. So the fact that she's on now, I can't wait. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. And she's one of our favorite people, for real. She's just a good human, and really looking forward to talking to her next week.
Yeah. And September is what, Doug?
It's going to be all female guests.
Yay.
It's going to be great because we want to be able to support voices that aren't just, that don't get maybe as much as they should, or just really to showcase folks who aren't freaking dudes. I mean, the thing is, it's the fact that the beer industry is largely male. It's largely white. And I think we've done a good job of having folks on who aren't just looking like me. But now let's have a month of where we're talking to folks who are female and get their opinions on things. It's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to this month.
Yeah, we've moved from a beer show to, I think, more of a variety show. So I'm happy about that, too.
Me
Doug,
too.
I will see you in a week.
You got it, sir.
And see everybody else in a week, too.
Yeah.
Man, I only had 2 beers tonight. That's cool.